Hey, what's up, y'all? This is Lewis Speaks 2023, and today I want to talk to you all about serial relationships. I see on my Facebook timeline a lot of men and women getting into relationship after relationship after relationship without taking a cooling off period to examine what went wrong in the last relationship. They're going from person to person to person without actually taking time to reflect on how things went awry. And I'm thinking, like, why do people do that? Why do people go from person to person to person? It varies with many different people. A lot of people do it to avoid loneliness. They do it to avoid examining what went wrong. A lot of times they're using other people as an escape hatch. They don't want to process and have to think about what happened in the last relationship. They just want to keep going from one relationship to the next. And it never works out. It never works out because they never take a chance to really take accountability and examine their own role in the relationship breakdowns. So they end up perpetuating the same mistakes, doing the same things that resulted in the initial breakups. And so I think a lot of people also, there are some people that I've noticed, they like using people as an ego stroke, you know? They like using people as an emotional come up. They like saying things like, look at how good I got this person to love me. I must be something if I can get this person to love me. If I can get so many different people to love me, I must be the bomb. And that's the ego. And when you actually go down deeper, and you dig deeper, what you start to realize is that the person suffers from an inherent sense of worthlessness and unworthiness. They don't feel worthy. They don't feel like they have worth, you know? And so they have to go from person to person trying to validate their existence, trying to validate their sense of worth. And it's unfortunate because the people that are really trying to love them and trying to connect with them are always kept at a distance. There's just but so far that these people can actually invest in these broken people before it becomes too much. And what I've noticed also is that when these people who enter serial relationships, when it does, like when there's a slight chance that it could work out, that this could be the one, they end up trying to sabotage it. Because intimacy to them is uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable. Because intimacy requires you to see someone's flaws. And a lot of these people do not want to acknowledge their flaws, and a relationship will bring you face to face with your flaws. That's a guarantee. And so a lot of people run from this level of intimacy and avoid it at all costs. You mean that I have to actually show you who I am, my flaws, things that I've tried to hide, things that I've even tried to hide from myself? You mean that I have to show this to a person? It becomes overwhelming. And so what they end up doing is sabotaging the relationship, finding some excuse as to why the relationship can't work out. And then they go to the next person because the next person doesn't know who they are. The next person just thinks that they're great. The next person showers them with praise. The next person shows them love. The next person, it's always the honeymoon phase in the next relationship. This eternal honeymoon phase they're searching for. Those people who enjoy serial relationships, they're searching for this eternal honeymoon phase. They don't like to get to the level where it requires a level of intimacy. These 12-year relationships, these 25-year relationships, they never see those because those relationships have a different level of intimacy and closeness. Those relationships have stripped down the fantasy of the person and actually have loved them based on a real assessment of who the person is. Those in serial relationships, they like the fantasy. They love the fantasy. They love the fantasy of somebody. They just don't love the reality. And so I think what they need to do, the work that they need to do is, for one, try to figure out where they first learned that they were unworthy. They have to build their own sense of worthiness, because oftentimes they will use other people as tools to build their ego. And I don't know about y'all, but I'm done being food for anybody's ego. I'm done trying to fill up this insatiable appetite that exists in people who feel unworthy. You know, this is insatiable appetite, insatiable, you know? They never get enough. Too much attention is never enough. They need it all because they feel unworthy. They struggle with low feelings of self-esteem. They have no self-esteem. They don't value themselves. They don't feel like they offer anything valuable to the world. And oftentimes these people will lead with their body parts, not their hearts. They will lead with their penis. They will lead with their vagina. They will always make their coochie leak or make their coochie breathe or whatever it is, because they don't have any feelings of self-worth. When you look at the rap today, even, a lot of these girls and a lot of these guys, all they're doing is putting out their bankroll. They're putting out their breasts, their penis, their behind, because they don't feel like they have anything really of value to offer. Because when you know that you are a high value man, or when you know that you're a high value woman, you don't have to advertise. You don't have to broadcast and announce your worth. Your energy, the way you speak, the way you listen, the way you love reflects your feelings of self-worth. That's what it boils down to. And you could tell high vibrational people versus low vibrational, because low vibrational have to lead with material things. They lead with things that are fleeting. High vibrational people know that the best gifts are the gifts of the spirit, the love, the joy, because from that source, you can offer other things. But you first have to be full within yourself and complete within yourself in order for you to be able to offer those gifts. And so these people that go from person to person to person, they are in constant pursuit of worth. And it's unfortunate, as I mentioned before, because a lot of us want to love these people. A lot of us see something good in these people. A lot of us want to invest in them. We want to shower them with the best of our love, but they're just not ready. They're not ready. And while on the surface they may seem ready, they're just not, because when it comes time to actually love someone past their flaws, these people run. They like the fantasy of love, but not the reality of love. You know? And so they always have to run. They always have to avoid. And so if you are in a relationship with these people, learn how to recognize the signs. What are some of the signs? They can't tolerate conflict. They cannot tolerate a difference of opinion. They always need to be praised. They always need to be told that they're right. They always need to be told that they're good, or anytime you have good news or you are succeeding and they're flailing, they can't be happy for you. That's another sign too. They can't be happy for you. Another sign is selfishness. They are increasingly selfish. They only look out for their well-being. They only look out for what they want. If they give you anything, trust and believe, they're going to be looking for more from you. They may give you crumbs expecting the whole cake, you know? And when you don't give them the whole cake, they're already in search of somebody else who will, because they cannot tolerate the reality of love, which is reciprocity. One element in the reality of love is reciprocity. Love does not ask, it gives. When someone really loves you, they give. But the reality is, a lot of what we see today is not love. It's codependence. It's a fear of dying alone. It's a fear of being alone. A lot of people are so afraid of being alone. And that's another feature when you notice in serial relationships, they cannot tolerate being with themselves. They always have to have another partner, another person, a series of friends wrapped around. They can't tolerate being alone because being alone means you have to come face to face with your truth. Face to face with both the good and the bad aspects of your personality and your character. And a lot of people don't want to come face to face with that because that means accountability. What do I do with this information that I discover about myself? What do I do knowing that I have hurt so many people in the past because of my own feelings of low self-worth? What do I do with that information? A lot of people don't know what to do with that information, so they rather not even think about it. So they, I would say, drown themselves in a series of empty relationships, low vibrational company, and a series of distractions also. They use people as distractions. They don't want to face the truth, so they need a distraction. And so that's what these people offer. Serial relationships offer a part-time distraction. And I say part-time because ultimately what ends up happening is that these people, they hit a wall. They hit a wall where they are forced to reckon with who they are. They are forced to come face to face with who they are. They can't run from it anymore. They have to realize the many ways in which they sabotage themselves, sabotage other people, the many ways in which they use other people as a smokescreen to avoid dealing with certain realities. And sometimes they can't tolerate it. A lot of people, they end up on drugs because it's just too much. They end up, once again, promiscuous, using people and beds as a distraction and as a coping mechanism to avoid dealing with the realities. They use alcohol, They use video games, technology, television, their phone. There's so many outlets and escape hatches that people use to avoid dealing with the reality of themselves. And so those in serial relationships, they have to go from partner to partner to partner to partner. I personally think, if you want to know the truth, I call these people serial killers. Because, what we don't realize is that you can kill somebody's spirit. We always, we want to lock someone up when, they kill someone or they kill multiple people. We call them serial killers. But we don't think about the killing that happens of the spirit. There's a killing of your spirit that happens as well when you try and love these people. Going from person to person to person to person, they're not only killing those spirits, they're also killing their own, unwittingly killing their own spirit. They don't even know it. It's not in their conscious awareness. So they are killing their own spirit, and they're ruining themselves for love, and they're ruining other people for love. There's a lot of people out here looking for love, but they are ruined for love because they've allowed somebody else to hurt them. They've allowed someone else to actually destroy their capacity to be loved. You can't let somebody destroy your capacity to be loved with their stupidness and their unevolved ways. Because a lot of people are just projecting their own insecurities, their own feelings of inadequacy onto you, onto your life experience. And when you learn that a lot of the behavior that people exhibit has nothing to do with you and are mere projections of their own unhealed wounds, that's when you start to, that's that right there. That's when you start to actually move different. And you don't allow anybody to ruin your capacity for love because you realize it wasn't about me. It was about this person's inability to really love themselves, to really see themselves. And when you realize that, you are free. You really are free. And that's why there's a lot of people out here ruined for love, because they haven't realized that. They haven't realized that, yes, they are flawed. Yes, they are imperfect, but they are nonetheless deserving of love, grace, undeserved kindness, mercy. When you think about how we are reflections of God, God offers that all the time to us. In the scriptures, it mentions that he has not done to us what we actually deserve. And thankfully so, because we are dust. I believe the scripture is Psalms 103, where he realizes that we are mere dust and he hasn't done to us what we actually deserve. He understands that we make mistakes. And of course, he invites us to not stay making mistakes. He invites us to actually elevate, which is great, and an act of love. At the same time, he understands that we are imperfect human beings, and we need that mercy. We need that grace. We need that undeserved kindness. But you know something? A lot of people don't offer that. A lot of people don't offer that to others and to themselves. There's a movement going on now, which is the SelfCompassion movement. People are encouraging you to have some self-compassion, because if you have compassion for yourself, it'll be that much easier for you to have compassion for somebody else. That's the premise. And I think that's a valuable insight. But with people nowadays, they're going from partner to partner to partner, and I've noticed it online. I've seen it with my own eyes up close in person, and it's just sad. And sometimes you feel sorry for the partner that is on the receiving end of that kind of love. They don't even know what they are in store for. And you're like, oh my goodness, they're a sitting duck. They are a sitting duck. They don't even know exactly what they got coming their way. But my thing is this. All you can do is focus on yourself, focus on changing your own life. There was a period of time where I used to go from relationship to relationship to relationship because I didn't want to deal with the pain of being alone. I didn't want to have to face the reality that I also was struggling with certain feelings of low self-worth. And I also realized that there's a family component to it, because if you grew up in a home where you constantly saw your parent or your parents going from person to person to person with polyamorous parents, or if you saw like a single parent going from relationship to relationship to relationship to relationship, that's your model of relationships. That's your model of love. You equate love with instability. And there's a lot of people that equate love with instability, And there's a lot of instability in love. They realize from watching their caretakers that this is how you do relationships with other people. Because as a child, your first relationships are with your parents, and you are watching them. You're watching how they do relationships with other people, how they navigate in the world, because you're using that as a model. Albert Bandura, a sociologist, he has something called social learning theory, where we basically look at our caretakers as role models. They provide us with a blueprint on how to do relationships. And so this is where we learn how to do relationships. And if you see an unstable element in how your parents or parent did relationships, you're going to take that example and you're going to transfer it onto every relationship and project it in every relationship that you enter into. And there's a lot of people out there doing that. There's a lot of people out there taking those early experiences and projecting them across the board. But what we have to do is break the cycle. We are a generation of cycle breakers. That's what we are. This is the generation where we are charged with the responsibility to break cycles because we have better information. When you know better, you do better. So we have more access to information now, so we're doing better. We're breaking certain cycles, But once again, it's kind of difficult. It's like a salmon swimming upstream because we have that programming already in us. We are already conditioned to view relationships as temporary, short term, Even this generation now, the way we describe relationships is so toxic. It's so wounded. Friends with benefits, really? Personally, if you want to know the truth, that term is really scary to me. And I think it's just a euphemism for cum dumpster with no attachment. So friends with benefits equals cum dumpster with no attachment. But of course, we want to dignify the other person. We don't want to call them a cum dumpster because we want to keep on using them, We want to keep on using them. And I think it's very selfish, this friends with Benny situation, because it's just very low vibrational. Very low vibrational. A lot of people don't want the attachment. They want the freedom to go out and explore everything, explore. But all this exploration, what is it doing? High rates of STDs, high rates of heartbreaks, high rates of mistrust, high rates of pregnancy, unwanted pregnancies, high rates of abortions, high rates of all this. Friends with Bennies, we just keeping it light. Okay, well, how's that working out for y'all? How's that working out for us? We can't even do relationships anymore because we don't trust one another. Why don't we trust one another? Because there's no care. We haven't taken the time to invest in one another. We haven't taken the time to really get to know one another. I'm supposed to trust somebody who don't even care to know me, who want to introduce themselves to my parts before they introduce themselves to my heart. I'm supposed to trust that? Yeah? You trust that, really? Not me. And you can see that it's not working. You can see, we all can see that. We all are out here looking for love in all the wrong places because all the wrong places are not time tested. They want to rush. They want to rush to your bedroom way before they get to your living room. So, once again, if you see yourself reflected in this video, chances are you meet the criteria. So now the question becomes what to do about it, what to do to actually heal from serial relationships. You have to realize that, for one, you need to work on yourself. You can't go jumping from place to place if you have not done the work on yourself. Because if you don't do that work, and that deep work, it takes time, it takes effort, it takes energy. If you have not done that work, you will not be good for somebody else, period. Also realizing that love is not a fantasy. You will see flaws. You are yourself flawed. You have to offer grace. You also have to temper that with a sound mind. And I say that because there are some things like abuse, infidelity that should not be tolerated, So you definitely have to temper that with a sound mind, move accordingly. But at the same time, there are certain things that people end relationships over, and it's really just petty. It's really petty. What could have been a loving bond that withstood the test of time is now just a relic of the past, And so once again, everybody has to just examine themselves first, realize that relationships are not a fantasy, realize that people come with flaws. They also have to realize that you need a spiritual component in your relationship. You need a governing body, because this person's going to go this way, you're going to go that way. What is the governing body that keeps our relationship together? In Christianity, they call it a threefold cord: person, God. Person, God. He's the higher power. He deserves to actually, officiate the ceremony. He's the one that serves as a mediator, a divine mediator, and you need that divine mediator, especially when difficulties arise. You're going to clash with your partner. But if you don't have divine mediation, it's not going to work. It's not going to work. So I think that if you want to break that cycle of serial relationships, you got to do some deep, deep inner cleansing. You got to. There's no other way. That's step one. Stick with step one. So I hope this video was helpful to y'all. Definitely enjoy 2023. It's becoming 2024 very soon, in like about a month. So if you want, make a resolve to stop going from person to person to person to person. Sit with yourself. Really love on yourself and appreciate the beauty of your majesty, of your power, of your goodness. Really hone in on that, so that way you could be good for other people trying to love you. All right? This is Lewis. Lewis Speaks. Peace, y'all.